Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are packing our bags, figuratively speaking, and heading north. We're talking about the Great White North, but specifically, we're looking at Canada in the year 2026. And I think the first thing we need to establish here is that the Canada of 2026 is not the Canada of 2016. It honestly isn't even the Canada of 2020.
No, it's really not. The mental map people have of the country. Moose, mountains, polite people, holding doors open. It's not wrong, but it is severely outdated.
Incomplete.
It's incomplete.
Exactly. We're looking at a stable democracy, yes. A massive G7 economy, absolutely. But if you're thinking about moving there, you have to sort of update your operating system.
Yeah.
And we've got this incredible dossier from Dara Immigration Services titled About Canada 2026. And what I love about it is that it refuses to be a travel brochure.
That's the key. Calls itself an unvarnished truth guide.
Yep.
And that is what we need because the narrative has shifted. For years, the story of Canada was come one, come all. It was about rapid growth.
Right.
But if you look at the policy landscape for 2026, the federal government has pivoted hard. The new keyword isn't growth. It's sustainable integration.
Sustainable integration. That sounds like very polite, very Canadian government speak for we're tapping the brakes.
It is tapping the brakes, but it's also about capacity. Look at the numbers. The target for permanent residents has stabilized at 380,000 for the year.
Okay.
Now, 380,000 sounds like a stadium full of people, but in the context of global demand to enter Canada, that is a very tight velvet rope.
So it's become an exclusive club.
It has. And the implication of that cap is feared competition. It means the entry requirements are stricter. It means the economic landscape you're walking into is defined by higher costs of living and, quite frankly, severe housing shortages.
Right, in the places people actually want to be.
Exactly. The days of showing up with a suitcase and a dream are, well, they're over.
Yes.
In 2026, the only successful immigrant is a highly informed strategist.
A strategist? I like that. It feels less like a romantic adventure and more like a corporate merger. You're merging your life with this entity called Canada.
That's a great way to put it.
But to do that, you need to understand the corporate structure. I think a lot of people view Canada as this monolith. One big block of ice from coast to coast.
Right. But it's really a federation, and that distinction is fatal if you ignore it. You have the federal government in Ottawa, the prime minister, the flag, the currency. That's the big picture stuff.
Okay.
But for your daily existence, Ottawa is almost irrelevant. It's the provincial governments, the premiers, who hold the keys to your actual life.
Because they control the services.
Precisely. Healthcare, provincial. Education, provincial.
Sure.
Even specific immigration pathways, the PMPs, are provincial. So your experience in Ontario could be vastly different from your experience in Alberta.
So it's not just different scenery.
No, it's different tax brackets, different waiting lists for doctors, different school curriculums. You can't just move to Canada. You have to move to a specific jurisdiction with specific rules.
That's a crucial mindset shift. And economically, we're not just chopping down trees and digging for oil anymore, are we?
No, although those sectors are still there. But the engine has shifted. We're looking at a knowledge economy. Canada in 2026 is aggressively pivoting toward AI, tech, and high finance.
Which implies that if you don't have skills in those areas, you might find the job market a little chillier than the weather.
It's definitely polarized. And this connects to the banking and tax system. Canada has one of the safest banking systems on the planet. Your money is safe. But the trade-off is the progressive taxation. You're going to pay a lot of tax.
I feel like that's the part people always complain about. The taxes are too high.
They are high, but you have to view it as a subscription fee. You're paying a premium subscription for stability and social services, primarily universal health care.
So you're prepaying for the safety net.
Exactly. Whether you think that subscription is worth the price, well, that depends on how much you use the services.
Fair point. Okay, let's get specific. You mentioned earlier that life in Toronto bears little resemblance to life in rural Saskatchewan. I want to take a tour. Let's start in the center of the universe, or at least that's what they think they are, central Canada, Ontario and Quebec.
The heavy hitters.
Yeah.
This is where 60% of the population lives. Let's start with Ontario. It's the economic engine. You've got Toronto, which is the finance capital, and Waterloo, which is the tech hub.
And Toronto is often cited as the most diverse city on the planet. I've been there, and it's true. You can walk down the street and hear 50 languages in 10 minutes. It's vibrant.
Wow.
But There's a sting in the tail, right? It's not all festivals and food trucks.
The sting is severe. It is the most expensive city in the country for rent and for auto insurance.
Yeah.
You are paying a massive premium to be near that action.
And the climate.
And the climate. People think Canada equals cold, but in southern Ontario, the summers are humid. It's plus 30 degrees Celsius. You're sweating through your shirt, and then 6 months later, it's minus 20 and snowing.
So you get the worst of both worlds weather-wise, and you pay top dollar for it. It's a tough sell. So what about next door? Quebec.
Ah, Quebec.
I always find it fascinating because it feels like a different country inside the country.
In many ways it is. The vibe is distinctly European. But the barrier to entry is linguistic. The data is unyielding on this. French is not a nice-to-have in Quebec. It is the language of work and life.
So if you don't speak it, you're professionally capped.
Completely.
Okay, so you have to learn French. That's a hurdle. But is there a carrot to go with that stick?
The carrot is the cost of living, specifically for families. This is the aha moment for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
Quebec has higher income taxes, no doubt. But they have subsidized childcare at roughly $9 a day.
Wait, pause. $9 a day.
$9.
In Toronto or Vancouver, you're looking at what? 50, 60, maybe $80 a day?
Easily. Sometimes more. So do the math. If you have 2 kids, the savings on childcare in Quebec alone could be $20,000 a year compared to Ontario.
That is life-changing money.
It is. And rents are significantly lower in Montreal. So it's a trade-off. Effort for affordability.
Okay, let's head west. British Columbia and Alberta. This feels like the classic Canadian rivalry.
The hippies versus the cowboys, yeah.
Yeah.
The stereotype.
It is, but the economic differences are real. British Columbia, and specifically Vancouver, is the gateway to Asia. It's stunning. Mountains, ocean, tech, trade, and the weather.
Ah, the weather. It rarely snows in the city.
Which sounds perfect. I hate shoveling snow.
You might not shovel snow, but you will need an umbrella. It rains. A lot. But the real storm in BC is the cost of living. The dossier rates it as very high. We aren't just talking expensive. We are talking prohibitive. Housing is a wall.
So you have the mild weather, but you can't afford a roof to enjoy it under. Contrast that with Alberta.
Alberta's a counterpunch. It's young, it's entrepreneurial, still energy-focused, but Calgary has a booming tech sector now. The financial draw here is massive. There is no provincial sales tax.
You know, sales tax. That feels like a glitch in the matrix.
No PST. And generally, wages are higher. It's described as the place you go to make money.
Okay, but I'm sensing a but coming.
The catch is the thermometer. It is bitterly cold. And I don't mean put on a sweater cold. I mean minus 30, minus 40 degrees Celsius. The air hurts your face.
Minus 40. That is primal. So you are essentially trading comfort for cash. You freeze, but your bank account stays warm.
That's the deal. And we shouldn't skip the Prairie, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba or the Atlantic provinces. They're smaller markets. But the Atlantic immigration program has revitalized the East Coast.
Right. So if you want a house with a backyard and a slower pace.
Places like Halifax or Moncton are incredible value. But again, you have to bring your own job or work remotely because the local economies aren't as deep.
Right. So we've got the map. Now I want to get into the nitty-gritty, the dollars and cents. The dossier lists average rents for a one-bedroom apartment in 2026. I want to read these out because the disparity is shocking. Vancouver. Roughly $2,896 a month.
Nearly $3,000
Yeah.
for a one-bedroom.
That is post-tax money.
Yeah.
You have to earn like, what, $4,500 just to pay the rent.
Correct. It's unsustainable for a single income earner.
Toronto is close behind at about $2,650. But then look at Calgary. $1,690.
That is over $1,000 a month in difference. That's $12,000 a year. That's a car. That's a vacation.
It's your savings account. And Montreal and Halifax are around $1,700 too. It really highlights that Canada isn't expensive. Specific cities in Canada are expensive.
Exactly. And when you layer in other costs, food inflation is projected at 4 to 6% for 2026. The specific number they crunch is that a family of 4 will spend about $17,500 a year just on groceries.
$17,000 just to eat.
Just to eat. And this leads to a very sobering statistic, the market basket measure, which is the fancy government term for the poverty line.
Okay.
For a family of 4 in a major city, the poverty line is approximately $55,000 to $60,000.
Whoa. Let that sink in. If you land a job paying $60,000 a year, which sounds like a decent salary on paper,
You're treading water.
you are technically hovering at the poverty line in a major city. You aren't saving. You aren't getting ahead.
You are just existing. That is the reality check. You need to aim significantly above that 60K mark to have the Canadian life you imagine.
That is heavy. Okay, so we know the costs. Let's talk about the logistics of actually landing. The settlement roadmap, phase 1, immediate essentials. You get off the plane, what do?
First stop is bureaucratic. You need your SIN social insurance number. You cannot legally work without it. That's easy. But the second one is where people get burned. Healthcare.
The healthcare gap, I feel like this is a massive trap.
It is. People think universal healthcare, I'm covered. No. In provinces like BC and Ontario, there can be a waiting period of up to 3 months.
3 months. So if I slip on the ice in week 2 and break my ankle?
You are paying out of pocket. The dossier explicitly advises buying private health insurance for the first 90 days. It's not optional. It's risk management.
Okay, buy the insurance. What about banking?
Banking is actually the easy part. The big 5 banks, RBC, TD, Scotiabank, they love newcomers. They have fee-free packages, credit cards with low limits. They want to lock you in.
Right. Now, phase 2 is where the rubber meets the road. Housing. You mentioned earlier that landlords are tough.
It's a catch-22. You need a place to live, but you have no Canadian credit history. You are a ghost to the system. A landlord looks at you and sees risk.
So what do they want?
Proof of funds, bank statements showing you have money or a cosigner. Yep. And you have to be ready to pay first and last month's rent up front. In Toronto, that could be $5,500 cash you need to hand over on day 1.
Ouch. And then there is a line item in the budget here called winter prep. The dossier suggests budgeting $500 per person. I feel like someone in a warm climate is thinking, I have a jacket, I'll be fine.
They will not be fine. This isn't about looking good. It's about safety. Standing at a bus stop in -20 for 20 minutes, that is dangerous if you are wearing sneakers and a denim jacket. You need insulated boots, a rated parka, gloves, a toque. That $500 is a survival expense.
Survival expense. That puts it in perspective. Now, we have to talk about the hard truths. Challenge number 1, the Canadian experience barrier. This one drives me crazy.
It is incredibly frustrating. You see it all the time. A senior engineer from Brazil or a doctor from India arrives, and employers say, you don't have local experience.
But how do you get local experience if no one hires you? It's a loop.
It's a classic closed loop. The strategy the dossier suggests is humbling. You have to break the loop by any means necessary. Take a survival job, working retail, driving an Uber, or volunteer. The goal isn't the money, it's the reference.
You just need one person to vouch for you.
Exactly. You need one person with a Canadian phone number to say, yes, they show up on time and they're smart. Once you have that, the dam breaks.
So you have to be willing to take a step back to move forward.
Sometimes 2 steps back.
Okay, challenge 2, credential recognition. You mentioned the doctor. It's not just show us your diploma, is it?
No. If you are in a regulated profession, engineering, nursing, law, Vulrican, your degree might as well be written in invisible ink until it is assessed by an organization like WEES or ICAS.
And I assume this isn't an overnight process.
It can take months, sometimes years for full licensing. The advice here is critical. Start this before you get on the plane. Do not wait until you're sitting in your expensive Toronto apartment to start the paperwork.
Right. Challenge number 3, the housing crisis availability. We talked about price, but can you even find a place?
Vacancy rates in major cities are below 1.5%. That is functionally 0. It means if an apartment is listed, 50 people want it. You end up in bidding wars.
Bidding wars for rent.
Yes. Someone says, the rent is $2,500. And someone else says, I'll give you $2,700 in 6 months up front. It's brutal. The dossier suggests a strategic retreat. Look at mid-sized cities. London, Winnipeg. The rent-to-income ratios there are much healthier.
You gain sanity.
You gain sanity.
And finally, language. People think, I can get by with Google Translate.
You can get by, but you cannot thrive. Fluency in English or French is the #1 predictor of economic success. You can live in an ethnic enclave and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But you limit your job pool to that neighborhood.
So let's zoom out. What does this all mean? Canada in 2026 is a land of opportunity, absolutely. It's safe, low gun violence, political stability. But it is also a land that demands a calculator and a plan.
It really does. I think the most telling detail is a small note in the dossier about sales tax. It reminds the reader that the posted price isn't the final price.
Right. You see $10 on the shelf.
And you get to the register and it's $11.30.
That is a perfect metaphor for the whole immigration journey.
It is. The sticker price, the dream, the Instagram photos of Lake Louise looks one way. But when you get to the register, the actual settlement, there are added costs. Taxes, winter gear, waiting periods, credential checks, the emotional toll of restarting your career.
So Canada has a fantastic product, but the final price is higher than what's on the shelf.
That's it, exactly.
That is such a great way to frame it, and I think that leads us to our final thought. The dossier talks about this shift from rapid growth to sustainable integration. It feels like the era of the romantic immigrant story is, well, dead.
I think it is. It raises this question. In 2026, does the Canadian dream look less like a leap of faith and more like a calculated business decision?
Is the successful immigrant of the future less of a dreamer and more of a CEO of their own life?
I think so. Because based on this data, passion alone won't pay the rent in Toronto. You need a strategy.
A calculated business decision. That is something to chew on. Listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the reality of the Great White North. We hope your mental map is a little more detailed now.
And a little more realistic. Safe travels and happy planning.
See you next time.